From the moment we moved into the neighborhood, I believed it was the start of a new chapter. My husband and I had found our dream home, a place of hope after difficult times. I had no idea how drastically my life would change when I met him. Need a hand with that? David was unforgettable, with a confident smile that made my heart race. I smiled back, unaware that this was the moment my world would shift forever. As he helped me with the box, our hands brushed, igniting a spark neither of us could ignore. Our interactions started innocently enough. We were just neighbors. I saw him daily, exchanged waves, engaged in small talk. But beneath the surface, something more was brewing, waiting for the right moment to erupt. "You know, you've been on my mind a lot lately." His words sent a jolt through me. My heart raced as I realized we were both entertaining the same thoughts. Our eyes locked in a moment of intensity. But my husband's call broke the connection. I walked away, but the seed of temptation was planted. That rainy night, with my husband out of town, I opened the door to find David standing there. Something inside me shattered. "I couldn't stop thinking about you," he confessed, pulling me into a kiss that I couldn't resist. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not my marriage, not the consequences. I was consumed by his touch, his kiss, and the way he made me feel truly alive again. It was a moment I couldn't deny. The morning after, reality crashed down on me. I had crossed an irreparable line, betraying my husband, my vows, and myself. Yet, instead of regret, I felt something far more dangerous, an undeniable longing. I should have walked away, but I couldn't. Every encounter with David was like a magnet drawing me in. The passion between us was unparalleled, igniting a fire I couldn't seem to extinguish. I believed I could hide the affair forever, convinced my husband would never suspect. But secrets have a way of surfacing, don't they? "How long has this been going on?" He knew. In that devastating moment, I realized the gravity of my betrayal. The man I had shared a life with, who had trusted me, was broken. "You? How could you do this?" "With my husband? You were supposed to be my friend." I hadn't just betrayed my husband. I had betrayed Emily too. She had welcomed me into her life, and in return, I destroyed hers by taking the man she loved. Forbidden love is intoxicating, but it's unsustainable. Once the secrecy is gone, only destruction remains, broken hearts, and shattered lives. We can't keep doing this. Look at what we've done. We've destroyed everything. We had raised our lives to the ground for a fleeting passion. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. And now, I had to face the ruin we had created. What now? I dreamed of running away together, starting anew. But as I looked at him, reality hit. It was all a lie. The passion blinded me, but the truth was unavoidable. We destroyed everything for nothing. There is no us, David. There never was. It was just a fantasy. And with that, it ended. The love, the lust, the betrayal, all collapsed. I was left with nothing but the aftermath of my choices, questioning if I could ever rebuild what I had lost. Choices made in passion can leave permanent scars. What would you have done in my situation? Would you risk everything for love or lust? In the silence that followed, the weight of my actions pressed heavily, leaving me to question if forgiveness was ever truly attainable. As I stood there, watching David disappear into the distance, I felt a wave of emotions crash over me. Guilt, regret, relief. It was all too much. I thought I could start over, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. A week passed, and I had begun to settle into my new reality, living alone in a rented apartment. My life felt quieter, emptier, but I was trying to move on. Then, one afternoon, as I returned from work, I noticed a letter slipped under my door. My heart raced as I picked it up. It was from David. I opened it with trembling hands. "I'm sorry for everything. I've moved out of my house too. I just need to see you, one last time. Meet me where it all started." I knew exactly where he meant, the spot where we had first kissed. Against my better judgment, I went. When I arrived, he was there, standing by the same tree. His eyes were filled with desperation, but I could see something else, determination. "I've left her," David said, voice shaking. "I've left Emily. We can finally be together now. We don't have to hide anymore." My stomach dropped. He was serious. He had thrown everything away from me, and now he was standing here, expecting us to start over. "I don't love you, David," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. His face crumpled, but I had to say it. "I love the idea of you, the escape, but it was never real. We were living in a fantasy." David stepped closer, trying to take my hand, but I pulled away. He wasn't ready to hear what I had to say, and truthfully, I wasn't ready to face it either. "I've ruined my life for you," he said, his voice raw with pain. "I left my wife. I lost everything. For what?" "For nothing," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "We ruined our lives for nothing." David turned and walked away, for good this time. And as I stood there alone, I realized the full weight of what had happened. I had destroyed two families, mine and his. And now I was left with nothing but the cold, empty truth. A month later, I was sitting in a cafe when I saw her. Emily. She hadn't seen me yet, but my heart pounded as I watched her approach the counter. She looked different, stronger somehow. As I debated whether to leave or stay, she noticed me. Our eyes locked, and I braced myself for the confrontation. But instead of the anger or hatred I expected, Emily walked over to my table and sat down across from me. "I'm not here to fight," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I just wanted to see the woman who destroyed my marriage." I swallowed hard, guilt washing over me like a tidal wave. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," I started, but she cut me off. "I know," she said, her eyes piercing into mine. "That's the thing about betrayal. It never starts with the intention to hurt, but it does. And now we both have to live with the consequences." I wanted to say something, anything, that would make things right, but there were no words for what I had done. "You didn't just take my husband," Emily continued. "You took away my sense of trust, my belief in love. And now, I'm left picking up the pieces." I nodded, unable to meet her gaze any longer. She stood up, preparing to leave. "I hope you find peace," she said before walking out of the cafe, leaving me with a deep, gnawing emptiness. I realized then that I wasn't the only one suffering. Emily had lost just as much, if not more. A few more weeks passed, and I tried to put the pieces of my life back together. I focused on work, tried to avoid thinking about the past, but it haunted me. One evening, I got a call from my ex-husband. It was the first time I had heard his voice since our divorce was finalized. "I just wanted to say, I'm moving on," he said. "I've met someone new, and I think I'm finally ready to let go of everything that happened between us." Hearing those words, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I had expected him to be angry, to hold onto the betrayal forever. But instead, he had found a way to heal. I wished I could say the same for myself. Months later, I found myself at a mutual friend's party, one of those events I couldn't avoid. To my surprise, David was there too. Our eyes met across the room, but this time, there was no spark, no lingering tension. It was as if everything we had shared had evaporated into the ether. David approached me, his expression neutral. We exchanged a few pleasantries, but it was clear we were just going through the motions. The passion, the lust, the intensity, it was all gone, replaced by a hollow emptiness. As the night wore on, I found myself thinking about the choices I had made, the lives I had shattered. I had thought that David was the answer to all my problems. But in reality, he had only made things worse. I had destroyed my marriage, hurt my husband, betrayed a friend, all for a fleeting moment of passion. And now, standing here in the middle of a crowded room, I realized that I was more alone than ever. The twist came months later when I discovered something that changed everything. Emily, David's ex-wife, had started dating my ex-husband. The betrayal, the irony of it all, hit me like a ton of bricks. The two people we had hurt the most had found solace in each other's arms, while David and I were left with the consequences of our actions. I couldn't believe it. The very people we had betrayed were now together, happy, moving on with their lives. It was as if the universe was mocking me, reminding me that karma had a way of coming full circle. And so, I stood there, watching from the sidelines as the people I had wronged found their own versions of happiness. David had disappeared from my life entirely, and I was left to rebuild what was left of mine. But the truth was, I would never be the same. The choices I had made, the lines I had crossed, they had changed me forever. As David turned away, I realized it was time to face my own healing journey to find peace within myself. Left alone with my thoughts, I began to understand that true healing starts from within, and it was time to forgive myself. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more.